With the NBA playoffs fast approaching, you'd think the mainstream sports media, ESPN, Fox Sports, their go-to headlines, lead topics, will be talking Dallas versus the Clippers, Phoenix versus Minnesota, or even New York versus Philly. But for these guys, every single time, what are they talking about? LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, the guy who hasn't played in over 20 years, still more relevant than any player in the current playoffs. And for once, this video is kind of impromptu, and I wasn't planning on debating LeBron versus Jordan. But I saw my YouTube feed an ESPN segment labeled, "What does LeBron James have to do to pass Michael Jordan?" And look, this topic, this discussion, it's been beating the ground every single day for the past decade. But to answer their question, for LeBron to pass Michael Jordan, what he has to do: hop in a DeLorean and go back to June 7th, 2011, not score 8 points, and lose to the Dallas Mavericks as heavy favorites. And still, if you want to talk the overall gap between LeBron and Jordan in resume, I mean their gap on its own, a first ballot Hall of Famer and an all-time great player. Look at this gap: 2 championships, 2 Finals MVPs, 1 MVP, 9 scoring titles, 1 DPOY, and 3 all-defensive teams. If you compare the Jordan-LeBron gap to someone like Kevin Durant, who by a lot of fans regarded as a top 10, 15-ish player, the gap between Jordan and LeBron is a greater career than Kevin Durant. As far as I'm concerned, if the gap between 2 players is a first ballot Hall of Fame resume, there's no question of what the greater individual was.
This is the all-time greatest sports debate that's never going away. Honestly, I thought that the bubble championship was supposed to do this because it's 3 different franchises that he was the main player to win a championship. I thought that was supposed to end the debate, but it clearly hasn't. What more has to be done for LeBron James to win this battle? I just think this is one that's going to stand the test of time. You're on one side or the other.
So this dude with a straight face on national television said the bubble championship in his mind should have been the turning point in LeBron versus Jordan debate. And first off, the fact 4 years later you're still calling it the bubble championship, that says all you need to know. This title back in 2020, first off, a 6-month layoff, no travel, no fans, no home court advantage. I mean, if any title deserves an asterisk, it's the 2020 bubble. And let's say for argument's sake, that doesn't matter, put it aside, it was an actual championship. Even then, one of the weakest titles of all time. The first round, the 35-win Blazers with the 28th ranked defense, Dame Lillard got hurt in Game 3. Second round, the 44-win Rockets, James Harden a playoff choker, and Westbrook with 1 good quad. The Western Conference Finals versus Denver, Anthony Davis to beat the Nuggets, averaged 31 points per game on 55% shooting. And the ice on the cake, AD in Game 2 had a buzzer beater to go up 2-0. And of course, in the NBA Finals, the 44-win Heat were missing Dragic and Bam for numerous games, and it was Jimmy going solo versus LeBron and Anthony Davis. If you want to say LeBron James is the GOAT, of course, I'll disagree with you, but pinning the entire turning point of this debate on the bubble championship, I mean, you gotta be smarter than this. And one more thing I do want to touch on, when it comes to the Jordan versus LeBron debate being, quote, never ending, this dude is actually kind of half right, but for the wrong reasons. Jordan's overall legacy definitively, objectively, greater than LeBron James. But what makes the debate never ending is LeBron James media, LeBron James fans constantly pushing, hyping him up, overrating him to get past Jordan.
And right now the world views Nikola Jokic as unbeatable. He's sort of Drago. He's the guy no one can take out, and they are a prohibitive favorite, right? If LeBron knocks this guy off in the next couple of weeks at this age and goes on to win a championship in the league, I think it does influence the conversation.
If you ever wanted to see ESPN's bias, this dude with a straight face said Nikola Jokic is basically Drago. And if you don't know who Drago is, Rocky IV, the villain, to Sylvester Stallone. I mean, calling Jokic the Drago to LeBron's Rocky, that's pretty telling. And also, when saying if LeBron James can beat Jokic, quote-unquote, beat Drago, what is he ignoring? Anthony Davis, another player on the Lakers, was a top 10 player. That right there is peak ESPN. Jokic, he's the villain, and LeBron James is facing him solo. I think Denver's going to win this series pretty handily. Could go 5, maybe 6 games. But one thing I can guarantee without a shadow of a doubt, when LA loses, there's one guy who's not going to get any blame. And that, of course, is LeBron James. And why won't he get any blame? Well, it's season 21, age 39. Yes, we're hyping him up, building him up to beat Drago. But if he loses, doesn't really matter. Push that to the side. It never happened, doesn't count. And you might ask, well, how do you know that? How are you seeing these premonitions? Well, look back at 2021, 22, and 23. Every single postseason, what are we told? Well, if LeBron James wins this championship, gets his 5th ring, leads LA to the finals, he's going to pass Jordan. And what happens every single time? Build LeBron James up, then he fails, and they just kind of ignore it. Doesn't count. 21 versus the Suns, lost in the first round. Doesn't count. 22 missed the playoffs. Well, doesn't count. 23 made the West Finals, but was swept, and then, doesn't really count. My biggest problem with ESPN, Fox Sports, the pro-LeBron fans. They build LeBron James up, this unbeatable monster, who simultaneously is always the underdog and not to blame for his team losing. And it is pretty funny how in the post-2020 bubble era, the Lakers with LeBron James have won a total of 2 playoff series.
And I agree. I think people are so entrenched in this mindset. I agree. But think about what we're talking here. It would mean beating a guy that's about to win his 3rd MVP.
Right.
And the reigning champ. Then going up against potentially Kevin Durant and beating that team, or a young emerging superstar in Anthony Edwards. Then potentially either Luka and Kyrie, or 4 Hall of Famers on the Clippers, and then the Boston Celtics, who had 64 wins in this year. That playoff run, if he's at this age, if he's able to do that and be Finals MVP in the process.
Now, stopping it right there yet again. These outlandish, just wet dream hypotheticals of LeBron and Lakers win the championship and making the finals. And Tim Legler are usually pretty balanced, pretty fair, and objective. But right here, not just Lakers beating Nuggets, also beating Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, and beating whoever they face in the West Finals. I mean, it got so outlandish, so just insane of a hypothetical, Tim Legler at the end couldn't keep a straight face.
And be Finals MVP in the process.
I don't know if they're being fed talking points, being told to say this stuff, but every single year like clockwork, Lakers, title threats, LeBron James, if he wins, could be the greatest. And what happens? Doesn't win, doesn't make the finals, and the majority of the time goes out sad and embarrassing fashion. And one more thing I just want to harp on. We haven't even played game 1 of this series yet, and already they're penciling LA in to the NBA Finals. I mean, can we just let game 1 happen, let the series happen, then talk championship or possibly making the finals? And one thing I'll dive into in future videos, when it comes to LeBron and the Lakers, notice the teams they talk trash to and kind of puff their chest out against. It's no problem versus Dillon Brooks in Memphis when you're playing Dillon Brooks and Grizzlies team without Ja Morant. When they're playing teams of that ilk, they'll talk trash 24/7, puff out their chest, do that stupid crowning thing, and on Instagram be calling themselves a bear in the woods. But versus a team like Denver, I mean, they're awfully quiet in the West Finals and, of course, heading into this series. So that right there is the end of the video. And again, ESPN, these false LeBron GOAT arguments, these hypotheticals, these wet dream scenarios, they just never ever end. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.